For a third-grade dropout, Manson was surprisingly knowledgeable about world revolutionaries. He fancied himself like Marx, Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin.
The revolution is waiting for a spark. Everybody's ready. Everybody's got their guns together. Most people do, and anybody who doesn't should. Everybody's waiting for a spark. Everybody's waiting for somebody.
They've taken one man and they put him in front of you and they put him in the newspaper every day. It's something to focus on. It's something to look at. It's interesting. And they make him very, very, very exciting. A devil of every type and description. Everyone's nightmares. Everyone's boogeyman. So that you won't notice what's going on right around you. That war across the ocean. And you won't notice the brothers leaving every day and getting killed. And you won't notice the rioting that's happening in the streets or the bombing.
He robbed us from our parents and he gave us back to ourselves. And he wouldn't take us hanging on him. He wouldn't be our leader. He made us be strong inside ourselves and be our own leader. Yeah, there you go. And that's why they're hanging him. That's why they're killing him. That's what they want to kill. God. That's what the preacher wants to kill when he wears his black robes and stuff. That's what the judge sits up there in his black robe and orders to death.
Everybody is afraid of death. And that's a total thing what? Nobody's content right now with the world they've created. But their minds are all marked by fear of death. Charlie has all fear. Everybody has given their fear to Charlie. Love is infinitely strong and infinitely mad. It's erratic and crazy, crazy. It feels good. It feels good to be ready to face death and love it.
The infinite. And he said, go ahead and look at yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect. You always have been perfect. I'd like to say the words came from his mouth, that helter-skelter was to be the last war in the face of the earth. It would be all the wars that had ever been fought, built one on top of the others, things no man can conceive in his imagination. He can't conceive of what it would be like to see every man judge himself and then take it out on every other man all over the face of the earth.
Abigail Soldier, the cause of death. Stab wound of chest causing massive hemorrhage. Mrs. John Pulaski, cause of death. Multiple stab wounds of the chest and back causing penetration of the various vital organs and resulting massive internal hemorrhage. Mr. Stephen E. Tarrant, the cause of death is multiple gunshot wounds of the chest.
Thought it was so far from love, it wasn't even funny.
That day, one of the spectators came up to me and said, what in the world does this sex orgy have to do with these murders? And I pointed out, as I did to the jury later on, that certainly if one controls the sexual activities of a fellow human being, this is very persuasive circumstantial evidence that he controls many other aspects of his daily activities, including getting them to go out and commit mass murder. The multiplicity of stab wounds, 169 stab wounds, many of them post-mortem, the victim was already dead into the stab, shows, I think, that they enjoyed it. Susan Atkins said that it was analogous to sexual intercourse, the stabbing, the going in and out. She tasted Sharon Tate's blood. She said, you really have to have a lot of love in your heart to do what I did for Sharon Tate. So there was a certain amount of enjoyment involved here.
Is one area that I believe can be sometimes harmful for society. It's connection of violence and sex.
His followers were fanatical, religious followers. They thought he was the second coming of Christ and the devil all wrapped up in one person. And if I'd have to describe Manson, however, I'd say just a very evil, vicious, sophisticated con man. Much easier to talk to someone like Manson than to talk to Squeaky, because when you talk to Squeaky, you're talking to that part of Manson that he transplanted. She doesn't have her own mind anymore. None of the girls seem to. They're all carbon copies of each other. They regurgitate what Manson told them. There's a lack of a distinct personality. They all seem to have the same expressions on their face, the same tone of voice. He's a partial reflection of the times. The late 1960s, we had the sex and the drug revolution, the campus violence, the race riots, the seething discontent over Vietnam, and all of these fermentations seem to collide with each other in a stormy turbulence. And I think that Manson borrowed very heavily from these from these fermentations, and I think unquestionably the tempestuous 60s created a much more fertile soil for someone like Manson to emerge, but I do not think that he is a true reflection of the 60s, because I think if you had to scour the face of this globe, Bill, you would be very hard-pressed to come up with another group of people like Manson and his family whose religion, whose credo was to commit mass murder. I look at Manson more as an aberration, similar to Adolf Hitler, that could have happened at any time during our history. But the 60s were a little easier for him.
Say a desert commune or a commune that's isolated from the fabric of the police fabric. Now, I'm familiar with the communes in New York City, for instance, where you're constantly reacting and relating to the so-called other world. You know, you're really you're really never without police protection. You know, everybody usually have a phone.
We've always been sort of an outlaw group on our own, just because that's who we are. Our relationship with the Angels is that we both exist in essentially the same area, and we both know each other exist, and they outnumber us about 90 to 1, and we get along okay with them. You know, I mean, those guys are guys that we all know. We've known them for years, you know, and we don't have any fight with them, but we do know that they are Hell's Angels and that they're capable of doing a lot of